Have you ever heard a story so unexpected that it makes you stop and rethink what truly holds nations together? What if I told you that on February 14th, 2024, when a Saudi king's private jet made an emergency landing in Manila, it wasn't just a medical crisis. It was the unveiling of a 50-year secret that had been buried in palace archives, hidden from the world. A secret that explained everything. Why Filipino workers in Saudi Arabia are treated differently. Why certain protections exist that no one can quite explain. Why close to 1 million Filipinos have built their lives in the desert kingdom. What if the most important agreement between two nations was made in a hospital room between a dying prince and a young Filipino nurse? And what if that agreement was never supposed to see the light of day? This story may change the way you look at power, sacrifice, and those who choose silence over recognition. February 14th, 2:47 a.m. Captain Ramon Cruz sat at Manila Air Traffic Control, watching the quiet rhythm of late-night flights. Then the radio crackled. Urgent, wrong. Manila Tower, this is Saudi Royal Flight 001. Critical emergency. The king is in cardiac arrest. He's refusing treatment. He keeps saying he needs to get to Manila. Something about a document. Someone named Maria Santos. Romy felt something cold settle in his chest. A dying king flying off course, refusing help, demanding Manila. Copy that. Runway 24 clear. Get him down safely. 18 minutes later, the jet landed. Ambulances surrounded it. But something strange. Black SUVs with diplomatic plates arrived. Armed personnel. Government officials in the middle of the night. This wasn't just medical. This was something else. At St. Luke's Medical Center, the best doctors assembled. But when they wheeled King Khalid into intensive care, everyone saw it. He was fighting two battles, one medical, one deeper. He was whispering constantly. The head physician leaned close. Maria, find Maria Santos. Tondo, the agreement. They need to know. The Saudi ambassador went pale hearing those words. He pulled the doctor aside. Whatever he's saying about an agreement stays in this room. National security. But the king heard. His eyes opened, looking at the ambassador with 5 decades of authority. No, no more secrets. 50 years is enough. Find her. Tell her the debt must be paid. The world needs to know. His hand clutched a leather folder to his chest. Then his eyes closed, monitors beeping urgently. Within hours, every news outlet ran the same headline. Saudi king critical after emergency landing, asking for Maria Santos. And everyone asked, who was she? What secret was a dying king desperate to reveal? In Tondo, where houses pressed close and morning smells mixed, Maria Santos began another ordinary day. She was 70, gray-haired, running her small sari-sari store. The TV was on, background noise as she counted change. Then the anchor's voice stopped time. Breaking. The Saudi king asking for Maria Santos, believed to be a former overseas worker. The can slipped from her hand. She stood frozen, trembling. Diego, her grandson, walked in. Lola, you won't believe. He stopped. His grandmother was crying, staring at the TV. Lola, what's wrong? Maria shook her head. He wasn't supposed to tell anyone. We agreed. For 50 years. Agreed to what? Maria moved to the back room, pulled out a wooden box. Inside, a yellow document covered in official seals. This is the other half of the agreement, the half the world was never supposed to see. A knock, not a customer. Demanding. Men in suits, government ID, black SUVs outside. Mrs. Maria Santos, you need to come with us. National security, the king requested you. Maria stood straighter, finding her strength. I'll come. But I need to bring this. She held the box close. As they drove away, neighbors emerged, filming, whispering about their quiet neighbor being escorted like someone important. None of them knew. Maria Santos, who sold them candy and never raised prices, had once made a decision that reshaped close to 1 million lives. To understand, go back to 1974. A 20-year-old Maria stepped off a plane in Riyadh, one of thousands leaving family behind to send money home for siblings' school uniforms, parents' medicine. She worked night shifts at King Faisal Hospital, careful, thorough. One night, everything changed. Sirens, shouting. Royal emergency! Prince Khalid collapsed. Possible poisoning. Maria watched chaos unfold. The prince was dying. Nothing worked. She saw something others missed. The breathing pattern. The skin color. She'd seen it once in Manila. Contaminated seafood poisoning. She shouldn't speak. Junior, foreign, unauthorized. But she couldn't watch someone die when she knew what might save him. Doctor, I think I know what this is. The head physician, desperate, paused. What? Ciguatera poisoning. Your protocols won't work. But there's an experimental approach from Philippine General Hospital. Do it! Maria's hands moved with certainty. 5 minutes. 10. 15. Then, a breath. Color returning. Heartbeat stabilizing. The prince would live. Days later, Maria was summoned to his room. You saved my life, Prince Khalid said. Only my duty, Your Highness. No, you risked everything. Name your price. Maria pulled out photographs. Filipino workers in harsh conditions. Your Highness, I don't want anything for myself. She showed him the pictures. We build your buildings, care for your sick, raise your children, but we have no protection, no rights. We're invisible. What do you want me to do? Make it official, not charity, a formal agreement between your kingdom and my country. Protect us. Pay fairly. Give us dignity. Prince Khalid was silent. Then he wrote. Hours later, 2 identical documents, royal seals. A 50-year agreement. Filipino workers get protections no others have. Better wages, legal rights, medical care, education access. Maria stared, hardly believing. But there's a condition. This stays secret. If the world knows this came from a nurse's request, political pressure will destroy it. You must disappear. Live quietly. Never speak of this. Let history record this as my idea. He looked serious. Can you save millions and let no one know? Maria held the document. Thought of families who'd be protected. Dreams made possible. Yes, I can do that. They each kept 1 copy. After 50 years, the prince said, we meet again. Renew privately or reveal publicly. Your choice. They shook hands. A prince and a nurse. A promise that would reshape 2 nations. Maria finished her contract. Flew home. Opened her store. Raised a family. Never told anyone. Until now. St. Luke's conference room. Philippine officials. Saudi representatives. Security everywhere. Maria placed the document on the table. This is a bilateral agreement between Saudi Arabia and the Philippines, signed 1974, kept secret for 50 years. The room gasped. Prince Khalid gave this to me after I saved his life. I asked him to protect Filipino workers. He made it official. This is why close to 1 million Filipinos have been treated differently. You've wondered why. This is why. Why secret? Someone demanded. Because if the world knew this came from a nurse making demands, powerful people would destroy it. We chose protection over recognition. But the king's revealing it now. Why? Because he's dying. The agreement expires in 6 months. His brother wants to bury it. The Saudi ambassador stood. You don't understand the political. I understand perfectly, Maria said with steel. Close to 1 million workers depend on this. If it disappears, everything disappears. And that, said a weak voice, is why I came here. King Khalid was wheeled in, pale, frail, but determined. Your Majesty, you shouldn't. I'm dying anyway. I'd rather die making sure this survives. He looked at Maria. 50 years later. Same room. Hello, Maria. Hello, Khalid. I kept my promise. For 50 years, Filipino workers built modern Saudi Arabia. I made sure they were protected. I know. I've watched. You kept your word. But my brother wants to end it. Says it's not profitable. So I'm doing what we should have done 50 years ago. Making it public. This wasn't charity. This was justice. A debt we owe. Princess Amira stepped forward with a new document. Before my father left Saudi Arabia, he signed this. An extension. Making the agreement permanent. And public. The world will know Filipino workers built our nation. We'll honor them forever. There's more, the king said. $500 million, a foundation for Filipino workers, education, healthcare, legal aid, the Maria Santos Foundation. Maria shook her head. I didn't do it to be remembered. I know, that's why your name should be on it. So everyone understands one person, asking nothing for themselves, can change the world. 2 weeks later, a global press conference. Princess Amira with Maria holding both documents. For 50 years, people wondered why Filipino workers in Saudi Arabia receive certain protections. Today, we reveal the truth. She told everything. The poisoning, the rescue, the request, the promise, the silence. This became proof that dignity is not a gift. It's a right, a legacy that will outlive both my father and Mrs. Santos. Close to 1 million workers watched and wept, finally understanding why their lives had been protected. 1 month later, Maria's store, Diego filming. Lola, people call you a hero. What do you say? Maria smiled. I was just a nurse who asked a prince to do the right thing. And he did. That's the real story. Not that I asked, but that he listened. But you stayed silent for 50 years. How? Apo, some things are more important than being remembered. Like making sure close to 1 million people could work with dignity. Like knowing families could eat because someone protected them. That's worth more than recognition. She looked at the camera. You don't have to be powerful to change the world. You don't need to be rich or famous. You just have to see something wrong and refuse to accept it. You just have to ask, even when scared. One conversation, one request, one moment of courage can echo across decades. The camera pulled back. The small store, the humble neighborhood, the quiet woman who carried a nation-changing secret for 50 years. Somewhere, in palaces and hospitals and homes across 2 nations, people who'd been protected by an agreement they never knew existed finally understood. They were seen. They were valued. They mattered. Because one nurse refused to stay silent when it counted, and one prince refused to forget his debt.